Just enjoy the freedom, love, get into this feeling. Everlasting love.
I've been a little quiet, but I haven't been idle. I've still been creating, still building, still writing. I just postponed my podcast production for a minute because I needed to change how I'm producing my segments. I wanted the flow to be cleaner, the message to hit harder, and the delivery to match the level I'm moving in right now. So, yes, I'm back. I'm working, I'm producing, and I'm picking up right where I left off. I'm starting with Jamie Unfiltered because I've got some ish to say. There are angles we keep skipping, conversations we keep softening, truth we keep avoiding. And I'm not doing that this season. So if you're here and you're new, welcome. And if you've been here, thank you for staying close. I appreciate your presence. This is the Jamie London Clay Show, your soulful sanctuary frequency where truth meets soul and healing meets real life. Here's what you can expect moving forward. Jamie Unfiltered, which is my commentary and my rants every week. Empower Me, Empower You. That's my empowerment teaching and coaching segment every other week. And Dear Jamie is like Dear Abby. So I have once a month, I will answer your real life questions with wisdom and strategy. And yes, I'm also adding some Lady Soul singing videos for more soulful traction because sometimes the truth needs a message and sometimes it needs a melody. So do me a favor, follow, subscribe, and share. If something hits, hit like. If something frees you, send it to somebody. Jamie Unfiltered starts now, as I was saying. And we're telling the truth. That's what we're here. Telling the truth without the fluff, with discernment and real strategy. So let's talk. But if you came here for comfort, this ain't that. If you came here for clarity, welcome. Welcome to Jamie London Clay, the show. Let's get into it. All right. This isn't nostalgia. It's a cultural audit. We saw the shine, we celebrated the symbol, but we didn't understand the cost. Because sometimes the culture calls it success and heaven calls it a warning. The rise of Sean Combs, what we didn't understand while we were living it. I want to talk about it. I'm sure everyone by now, if you haven't, check out the documentary about Sean Combs, The Reckoning, that 50 Cent and the team. I'm saying 50 Cent because it's the most recognizable name, but they've been saying the lady, I think her name is Alex, is the producer. But everyone's talking about it. It's on everywhere. It's not going to stop being talked about. It's not. But I'm hearing everybody just regurgitate the same thing. What happened in the vids? Go check out the videos for yourself. That's not what I want to talk about. That's not what my rant is about. My conversation that I want to speak without filter about. When I press play on The Reckoning, something hit me immediately. This wasn't just entertainment. Clearly, that wasn't nostalgia. That wasn't celebrity drama. This was a spiritual interruption, a cultural reckoning, a mirror held to a generation, specifically my generation. See, I didn't grow up after this era. I'm not a Gen Z baby discovering this for the first time. I'm a Xennial, caught between the Gen X grid and the millennial rebirth. We watched Sean Combs rise in real time. We watched the shiny suits. We watched the videos on BET. We watched the parties, the awards, the wins. I watched in real time the Source Awards, the losses. We watched the energy shift in hip hop. But here's the truth. We saw a lot and we didn't have the language to interpret what we were watching. Not because we ignored it, but because we didn't have the maturity, the emotional intelligence, the spiritual awareness, or the cultural discernment to name what was happening underneath the surface in real time at that time. And now, with this docu-series, the veil feels lifted. And let me be responsible. I'm responding to what's being presented publicly. I'm not here to make legal claims. I'm here to talk about culture, power, and what we normalized. Because when you grow up inside an era, you normalize what you don't yet have language for. Yeah. We were too young to understand the machine behind the man's rise. When we were kids, teens, young adults, we saw the illusion. We saw the success. We saw the money, the glamour, the music, the confidence, the charisma, the movement. But we didn't understand the power structures, the fear dynamics, the manipulation patterns, the intimidation energy, the psychological warfare, the way ambition can be weaponized. I actually admired Sean's ambition. I didn't know, though, what I know now. We were watching a cultural empire form without understanding what it can cost when power has no accountability. Episode 1 presents that rise as something deeper than talent and work ethic. It frames it as strategic, protected, engineered through industry relationships, cultural influence, and a silence. A silence culture that benefits people only at the top. And that's heavy because it makes you realize sometimes what we call success was also a system. The Black community uplifted him because we desperately wanted a win. Let's keep it real. In the 90s, we didn't have many widely celebrated mainstream Black moguls with visible infrastructure and power, especially in hip hop, who felt like proof that the door was finally opening. So when Sean Combs rose, we celebrated him like a symbol. Like we're finally in the room. Like we finally have a seat. Like we finally have somebody representing us at that level. We projected hope onto him, onto Bad Boy, onto the entire movement. But we didn't yet understand. Sometimes the face elevated to represent us does not have the heart or the restraint required to protect us. We cheered for the outcome without knowing what might have been happening in the shadows. We uplifted the brand without realizing who might have been getting crushed behind the scenes. And now the docu-series forces us to confront the cost of what we celebrated, not the shame or not to shame, the people who were fans, but to confront what happens when a community is so hungry for victory that we stop asking questions. Hip hop didn't just evolve something, man. Something shifted. One of the heaviest realizations in episode 1 for me is this: hip hop changed around that era. Of course, we lost Biggie and them, Pop, a lot was happening. And it didn't only change sonically. There was glamour, there was luxury, there was black excellence on the surface. Somebody. But the docuseries presents it presents a culture shifting into ego wars, access exploitation, energy, control dynamics, instability, fear-based relationships, and spiritual heaviness that didn't match the shine. And let me say it plainly, not everything that glitters is growth. Some things are erosion covered in diamonds. We witness the rise, but only now do we understand better the foundation. My goodness. The documentary argues the empire wasn't built on creativity alone. It suggests a foundation of fear-based loyalty, emotional manipulation, power imbalance, strategic relationships, industry protection, and allegations of silencing and narrative control. This is why the docuseries feels heavy, because it forces you, I know it forced me to reevaluate everything I once admired. We were witnessing someone rise to power through methods hidden from the public eye on purpose. And heaven saw it. And now the world is catching up. Being a Xennial means I watched hip hop shift in real time, and I didn't understand the spiritual cost back then. I didn't recognize the trauma, the fear, the manipulation, the machinery, the spiritual cost. I didn't have the discernment for it yet. But watching this now as a Black woman, a mother, a widow, and a spiritually awakened person who understands what trauma does to people and what power does to communities, it hits completely different. Because episode 1 makes it feel like the beginning was already stained from the beginning. The patterns were forming. The culture was shifting. The blueprint was being written. And this is what episode 1 confronts you with. Sometimes we don't recognize destruction when it's dressed as dominance. Sometimes we don't recognize danger when it's wearing success. Sometimes we don't recognize control when it's called leadership. And decades later, we're finally having language for what we felt but couldn't name. This was the beginning of a reckoning we weren't ready for. When episode 1 ends, you sit with this truth. Everything we celebrated had a shadow. And that shadow didn't just touch one person. It touched artists, families, communities, hip hop, Black culture, the entire entertainment ecosystem. Episode 1 sets the tone. This isn't just a docuseries. It feels like a cultural confession we never got, a truth we didn't have language for, a heaviness we weren't equipped to see back then. And now we see. We can't unsee it. Now we understand. Now we can speak without performing, without worshiping, without denying. Yeah. This is Jamie Unfiltered. And this is what type of time I'm on. And this is the reckoning. Next on Jamie Unfiltered, the cost, how power, silence, and Black elite gatekeeping shaped our culture. And who paid for it? Not rumors, patterns. And what it did to our culture.